Hello and welcome to Simply Technical. I'm one of your hosts, Evan. Keaton's there on the end if you're checking out on YouTube. And we got Dylan back, who is a medical marijuana card holder.
And user.
Emphasis on the holder and user. But he was on our MMA podcast. If you haven't seen it, go back and check it out. Fantastic. Actually, our highest rated video, I guess. Ooh. Highest views. Most likes, everything most on. So make sure you check it out. It's fantastic. But we brought him back because this dude wants to talk about marijuana. And our last episode was with Hannah, and she gave kind of a doctor's perspective of PA perspective, physician assistant perspective of medical marijuana, kind of what she's seeing. A little bit. We talked a little about the research. Make sure you check that out before watching this one. But Dylan's kind of a rebuttal, I guess, is maybe the best. I don't know how you would describe.
There's a lot of stuff I agree with. There's a lot of stuff that,
we all have our own opinions.
Yeah,
so.
She didn't really have the answers, or some stuff that was a little bit
shaky,
yeah. I mean, I just want to say right off the bat that, marijuana is not for everyone. It's not, everyone's different. The way that it affects me is going to be a lot different than it would affect you guys. Also, in the same way that you build a tolerance with alcohol, you build a tolerance with marijuana. So if, I can, I smoke I smoke every day, usually. It helps me with my training stuff. It helps me go to bed at night. I'm not going to say that everyone can do that. It's not everyone can, it's going to affect you a lot different. I just want to make sure everyone's very clear on that. It's not a cure-all.
Mm-hmm. We talked about that quite a bit. Yeah.
It's not a cure-all. It's not for everyone. But if you feel that you are in a stable mindset, if it's something that, if you want to get away from basically the pharmaceutical industry that we have already, you can kind of go that more natural way. And, there's a lot of people that are pushing that agenda, and there's a lot of back and forth on it, just because, conspiracy theories and stuff like that. But if you feel like you are in a decent headspace, if you feel like, it's something that you would be open to try, I would say, hey, give it a shot. A little bit goes a long way. I'm not saying go out there and just blast yourself with a huge dab or smoke a whole joint or take a huge bong rip, but a couple puffs on a joint goes a long way when it comes to people that are new to marijuana. I'm not saying that, again, everyone doesn't need to go out and try weed. I'm not saying that. But if it's something that you feel that you could be open to, then I would say give it a shot, honestly.
Or even just, I guess you're trying to say, like, benefit from, like, if you...
Yes. There are a lot of benefits to it. And I really believe it's more of a enhancer to life a little bit. Just because, I don't know. I don't think you guys have ever smoked, but I'm just saying, if you haven't smoked and then went to Taco Bell or Postmated Taco Bell or Del Taco or any kind of food, food tastes great. Movies are hilarious. Music, man, I'm telling you, one of my favorite things to do is to get kind of really high at the end of the day, put in my headphones and just listen to some really good music.
Kind of really high.
kind of really high, yeah. Again, different tolerances. I've been using it since I was, 15. I'm not saying everyone needs to do that. I was introduced to it very, very early by some friends, and it may have been a little bit too early because, I don't think it's for kids. I don't think it's for teenagers or the developing mind. But a full-grown adult that, is in a good mental headspace. And what I mean by that is, like, you're not having any, like, psychosis issues or anything along the lines of that. Because it's not... Because weed or cannabis can make that worse.
Oh, really?
It can. If you there's been so
It's like you said, an enhancer.
yeah, I mean it can, you know, it can make some people paranoid. And the weird thing about cannabis or weed, whatever you want to call it, is it affects everyone different because there's so many different strains available. Every strain kind of does something different. And there's, man, hundreds of strains, thousands maybe, in the world of different.
And they all do different things, or
I mean, they all get you high, but you know, you have your sativas, your indicas, your hybrids, and those are going to be your different strains. Sativas are going to be more for the daytime, or if you're wanting to be a little bit more active, because it's going to be more of a mental kind of buzz in your head, basically. Again, it's an enhancer, not. You don't try to get high and just go do crazy things. But for me, I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I love to smoke before I do jujitsu. I can smoke a little bit, do jujitsu. Those little vape pens or whatever, the cartridges, they're filled with. I mean, as long as they're, you know, regulated and safe, tested, everything like that. Which is what legalization kind of helps. For the people that do choose to use cannabis or medical marijuana, whatever you want to call it again, it can, I mean, it can make things a lot better.
But it could also make things worse, is what you're also saying.
Yes.
So it's good to, like you said, make sure you're in the a good mental state.
Yes.
And
stay away from edibles if you're brand new to it. Stay away from edibles. It's a completely different thing. It's more of a psychedelic if you do an edible. It goes through a completely different system in the body. Our bodies actually have a endocannabinoid system in it, so most people can benefit from smoking a little bit of cannabis every now and then, because it kind of helps your CB1 and CB2 receptors that are inside your body. It kind of, you know, it can help you. It can help stabilize the mood. It can help kind of stabilize the chemicals in the brain, hopefully. There's not a whole lot of research out there right now, and that's mostly because it's illegal. It's illegal federally. They're classifying it the same thing as heroin.
That's a huge problem.
And there's no way, man. Yeah. There's no way it's in the same category at all.
I've never done either, so I wouldn't know. But I've never done heroin either, so. But I'm sure.
Talk a little bit more about you mentioned you were talking about the regulation of the vape pens, but you mentioned how that makes it safer. Talk about how the legalization or non-legalization of marijuana would make it safer.
You guys talked your last podcast. You guys talked about, you know, the vitamin E getting inside some vape cartridges. That's mostly from black market cartridges that you can just buy on the street.
Yeah.
Now, in a fully regulated, not even a fully, but even just a regulated market, like kind of what we're getting towards now. I'm not saying the system that we have now is perfect, because it's definitely not. But in the system we have now, I know that I can walk into a dispensary and, well, a good dispensary, not, there's a big difference. There's a lot of good and bad dispensaries out there. You know, a lot of people are just looking at it as a cash grab, because, you know, for some people it can be.
And that's why the market's so saturated.
How many businesses popped up as
yes, it's
legalized.
insane. But on the flip side of that, if you really think about how many people actually use cannabis, I mean, man, I would say for most people it's safer than ibuprofen. You know, I'm not saying
that's your opinion, obviously.
My opinion, yes. Now there's different ways.
Not going to overdose.
Different ways to consume it, obviously. I don't believe smoking a joint is great for the lungs at all. I actually know that from personal experience. But, you know, vaping it, they actually make these dry herb vaporizers now that you just put a little bit in, and it kind of heats it up like on a ceramic coil, and then it just turns it into water vapor. A lot healthier than smoke, obviously. Probably still not the best thing, but if you're trying to get away from the pharmaceutical industry or just looking to try something different, because, you know, how ibuprofen affects me is also going to be different than how it affects Keaton and you. You know,
Even just strictly on body weight, it's going to be a lot different.
Exactly. I mean,
And
there's
fat content.
there's
and
so many different factors that come into play when it comes to medicine and everything like that.
And that's when you go to the doctor, they have an idea of what it's going to do to you, but they do a little trial and error in the beginning.
Yes.
With certain drugs. I don't know, Keaton, you might be.
I'm not super familiar. I mean, say,
but they'll give you like
antidepressant didn't work, they might give you a different one in that context.
From personal experience, you know, I was on antidepressants, anti-anxiety meds, and you know, they tried putting me on an antipsychotic for me just having depression. You know, I'm not saying it's a cure-all, because it's not. You can't go get a medical card and just start smoking and expect it to be. You expect you to just smoke and everything be great.
And you shouldn't be mixing your antidepressants with marijuana.
No. Don't mix any of that together. I mean, alcohol, any drug. You know.
Yeah, because I've heard that can really mess up your psychiatric brain chemistry.
I bet. I mean, I'm not
smoking marijuana and antidepressants. Or not smoking antidepressants, taking antidepressants and taking marijuana.
Right.
Can really mess with your mental state.
Yeah.
From what I've heard from doctors, and you choose one, you know, and stick with it. If you want to try marijuana, take off your psychiatric drugs. Try marijuana. If it doesn't work or it works better, you know, if it works better, stick with it. If you don't like it, then you know, maybe go back. There's a little bit of trial and error with that kind of stuff. But don't cross pollinate might not be the right word, but don't.
I wouldn't recommend it.
But so in Oklahoma, what is the process of getting your medical card?
Okay. So
and what are some pros and cons?
Okay.
Because there's some we might have talked about this on the last one, but can't you, if you have your medical card, you can't get firearms?
It's a huge gray area. There's a way around it, but from what I understand of it is you just can't possess both cannabis on your person and your firearm at the same time. That's what I was told that I couldn't do. I couldn't have both on me at the same time, but I mean, I don't carry a gun, you know. I don't have a reason to, but
your body's a weapon.
Right.
At this point.
But
so I've heard that you can't buy firearms, and maybe that's through a maybe for non-gun people this might not make any sense, but FFL through a dealer. You can still buy from private purchase, is my understanding.
So
FFL is like,
from my understanding, whenever you fill out the paperwork to purchase a firearm, it asks you if you are a drug user or if you abuse drugs.
I feel like if you're medically licensed and you are responsible, then you're not a drug.
Exactly. Well, I mean, it is a drug. I mean, but caffeine's a drug. You know, it's not.
It's vague in that area.
It's a very big gray area. It's a poorly worded question on there, and I mean, honestly, if it was me, I'm just leaving it blank. You know, I'm not gonna answer that, and you know, my medical history is a little bit. I'm not gonna just share that. You know, with that. So. But as far as the process of getting a medical marijuana card, there are a bunch of places that have kind of popped up that are basically you call, set an appointment, you walk in, you talk to a physician who's registered under the Oklahoma Medical Marijuana Association, or OMMA. They will talk to you for a little bit about why you would want to try cannabis. And then there's Oklahoma, the way the law is worded, Oklahoma has zero requirements on the way it's worded, man, it's so weird. There's no prerequisites.
Okay.
Yes, as far as
you have to meet these boxes and check them off.
You can walk in there and talk to the doctor and, you know, say, hey, I have allergies. I want to try medical marijuana. The doctor, you'll pay the doctor cash.
So it's not through insurance, okay?
Well, it can't be through insurance because it's not federally, it's not a federal thing. Insurances aren't ever going to recognize it until it's legalized on the federal level.
They still probably wouldn't even recognize it.
They might, because that's a lot of money that they
That's
can bring
true.
in, because insurance companies would just obviously raise their prices. And, you know, there's a lot of money that they can bring in on that if they just look at it and try to capitalize. I'm not saying it's good for the general consumer for insurance purposes, but
so you pay cash.
pay the doctor. Usually it's anywhere from, the cheapest I've seen is about $50 up to $150. Whenever medical marijuana became first available here in Oklahoma, it was, you know, there's places trying to charge $200 just to bring in cash. The doctor will approve your recommendation.
Or I guess they can disprove?
I've never seen them to disprove.
Okay.
And that's the part where I say that I'm not, you know, I don't really agree with
The way it's written.
Yeah,
What's
the law.
What's the age on?
18.
18. Okay.
You just have to be 18.
So you can buy marijuana, but you can't buy cigarettes
Yeah,
As
it's
Buy
weird.
cigarettes, but you can't buy.
legally.
Wait, can you? I thought-
They
I
raised
thought
the age to
cigarettes-
21.
They changed it to
21.
Yeah, you
Really?
can buy cigarettes, but you can buy weed, but you can't buy cigarettes. It's wild. Probably
Weed is probably a little safer in some
Yeah,
respects.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would definitely say safer.
But then you
So you get approved? Mhm.
Yes, the doctor will give you your recommendation, and since you went to that shop, most of them will fill out your online paperwork for OMMA. It's like OMMA.gov or whatever. You create your account, you upload your doctor's recommendation, fill out a bunch of questions, you'll take your picture, and then it used to take about 2 weeks. Now I think they have it at about 5 days. They'll send you your card in the mail.
That's a great government act.
Well, yeah, right. From there, you get your medical card, and you know you can go to your dispensaries. Now, there's the way the dispensaries work. You just have to basically pay for a license to own a dispensary here in Oklahoma. Now, there's a bunch of rules and regulations as far as like the building and safety and security and everything like that, because they just don't want anyone coming in and robbing the place, which, you know, has happened.
It's a lot of weed and a lot of money.
I mean, there's a lot of people that are doing that, you know, and that's why you see these security guards, armed security guards at dispensaries now.
Stimulating the economy.
Yeah. Yeah, see, it's a plus.
Is it taxed really high?
Yeah, I mean, I believe as of right now, Oklahoma's brought in, man, I want to say millions of dollars in tax revenue. I don't remember if it's in the tens of millions or hundreds of millions yet, but it's definitely, you know, bringing in a lot of money. Now, I don't know what the state's doing with all that money.
Yeah.
Because, you know, the roads still suck, but there's a lot of dispensaries out there. And okay, here's something that I kind of want to talk about is there's a lot of regulations that dispensaries are supposed to have. One of them being testing. There's a lot of testing that is supposed to be done before you can actually sell the product. Sell, you know, the cannabis, whether it be flower or edibles, cartridges, whatever. The way that these testing facilities are ran, because they're unregulated, a lot of them are okay with forging the numbers, and a lot of people don't know this. You know, you'll slide some cash under the table, and I say, hey Evan, here's some. Can you test my weed for me? And can you maybe bump up the numbers a little bit, like as far as the THC content, the CBD content, the cannabinoid content inside the product. This is more rampant in like Colorado, California, because it's such a loosely regulated market there that one of the big concerns for me is I don't want Oklahoma to follow suit on that, because then that does hurt everyone. It hurts the patient.
Yeah, that hurts the patient because Say you go to one dispensary and you get
Yes.
marijuana and it had a certain level of
Yeah.
content in
Yeah.
it. THC.
Yeah, is that whatever you need. I mean, every person requires different amounts of stuff, you know. Like for me, I like higher THC strains. I like the more psychoactive effect. But for you, you know, you could get a lower THC strain but a higher CBD. Let's say you have a really hard workout, something like that, your muscles are sore, you just kind of want some relief. At the end of the day, you know, you vape a little CBD THC cartridge, hit it a couple times, and you know you're gonna feel that effect, more of the high coming on, but it's gonna help with like the anti-inflammatory benefits and everything that comes with cannabis and everything like that. You know, you'd be able to
So when you go to a different dispensary, it could be a different level, even though it says it's the same.
Well,
So
I
that's-
don't believe Oklahoma's at that level yet, but it's something that I would be very concerned about.
So when you go to a dispensary, stick with a good one if you have a good one, is what you're saying?
I would say find a dispensary that you trust and stick with it.
Yeah.
You know, most people, there's a lot of dispensaries that have popped up that are looking for cash. That's all they're in it for.
I mean, it's kind of like the supplement industry in a way. I mean, most of the supplement industry is a little caffeine pill, makes you feel a little bit good. You don't even realize it, but you have to find those people who have been, you know, they're not regulated at all, but have certifications from X company that is an actual legit company.
Well, I mean, the main thing that has to happen is it has to be regulated.
Yeah.
You know, because there's bad people in the world. Let's face it. You know, there's bad people that do bad things. There's people that are greedy, and they just want money. You know, they're not looking out for the patient or the user. You know, I believe it's going to be legalized everywhere within the next at least 3 years. I think.
Oh wow.
You know, I mean,
I'd say medically for sure. Recreationally will
yes.
probably be maybe a couple years after that.
Yeah, I mean, once, you know, there's a lot of arguments out there of, hey, weed makes you lazy, stuff like that, and I believe it.
I was gonna ask you about this.
It's mostly dependent upon the person.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, if you're a lazy person, weed's probably gonna make you even more lazy. You know, it's not for everyone.
So what you said, being an enhancer, is true basically across the board for whatever it is.
I would say so. I mean, that's the way I've always looked at it. You know, if I want to be really lazy, then I can smoke a strain that's going to make me really lazy. If I want to be energetic, I can go smoke a strain that's going to help me be super energetic.
So I looked up the tax. The state assesses, this is from OklahomaWatch.org. The state assesses a 7% exercise tax on medical marijuana in addition to other state and local sales tax. State share goes towards running the Oklahoma Medical Marijuana Authority. Any excess revenues are split between the General Revenue Fund for Education and the Oklahoma State Department of Health for Drug and Alcohol Rehabilitation Programs. So the tax is going to something good, decent.
Two good things. Definitely really good for the education. We
and
that.
I think one of the important things that people don't realize is people were going to smoke whether it was passed or not.
Yes. And that's one of the big things. I mean, whether it's legal or not, it's people are going to smoke. People are going to use drugs.
And we talked about this in the last podcast, but it's in people. Like I said, people are going to smoke, and now it's regulated in the sense that you're not going to get as bad of stuff or bad stuff. Dangerous. I don't know how often illegal weed was laced with other things. I mean, I know that we see the big time celebrities that maybe OD on
Usually that's like
on harder things, but I don't know if it's usually if it was laced, because the argument against being laced with something is, well, that weed is going to be extremely expensive because those other drugs are even more expensive than weed.
Well, I mean, that's the big thing about, people saying that their weed was laced. To me, that doesn't make any sense. Weed's cheap. It's a plant. Anyone can grow it. You give me some sun, some water and some nutrients, I'm going to be able to grow some weed, or cannabis, whatever you want to call it. But to put hard drugs on that it doesn't make sense.
It's like a waste of money.
Yeah, well, I mean, you would obviously be like, hey, why are you giving me this, and why is it so expensive?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, yeah, I'm
Because
used
the
to
drug
paying.
dealer's not going to
So
want to lose
it's like
a
a
ton of money.
boogeyman. It's
Well-
a boogeyman argument, I guess.
Well, I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I've never met a drug dealer that was like out to hurt me. I'm not gonna lie, but they've always been really cool. I've always been good friends with them. But now that we're in a legal market, I don't have to go through that black market to, get what I want.
Oh, I've
At
heard
the
it-
end of the day, yeah. I mean,
It drove the prices down for
Right,
your drug
like-
dealers.
and I don't like to drink. I don't consume alcohol, on a regular basis.
For fun or pleasure.
I mean, I don't try to.
Those are the same thing.
Every now and then I'll have a shot or I'll have a beer or whatever, but more of like in a social setting. I'm not just actively out there just looking for alcohol. I prefer marijuana. I mean, it works for me. It helps me in a way, and I'm not saying it's for everyone. Again, I know I've said that 1,000 times.
Well,
but
that's important. I think that's important.
it's very important, But if you're curious, if you're, wanting to, then find someone that's gonna help you do that in a safe way.
Yeah.
If you're wanting to try it, but
So what other things would you change about the Oklahoma law? So you said maybe regulate a little bit more when it comes to the content of the weed.
like the testing.
Testing,
Yeah. I mean, I'm not saying that they're already doing that because I mean I don't know for sure, but I know it's a big problem in California right now.
We don't want to progress or regress to that.
No, I mean we don't want to bring black market stuff into a new, fresh market that's out. We want to basically keep everything safe for the patient. At the end of the day,
Another question I had about how much can you have on you with your card?
so legally I'm allowed to walk around with 3 ounces. Now I don't know if you know how.
Know that in the metric system.
I don't know. I don't know if you. I don't know if you know what 3 ounces of marijuana looks like, but it's a lot. It's a lot of it's about a gallon baggie.
Wow. Okay.
Really?
I mean, not for an ounce. You could probably fill like a gallon bag, probably a quarter of the way, maybe like a third of the way.
Okay.
But if you
Per volume, so
Yeah.
it's about an
Yeah.
ounce is about a quarter.
you could probably pull up a picture if you go to images. Let's see.
But
it's
that's quite a bit.
It's a lot.
85 grams. 3 ounces.
Yeah, and
That's
you
a
know,
lot of little baggies.
That's a lot of little baggies. Yeah.
I know baggies from Breaking Bad, so not from personal use.
But you can carry up to 3 ounces of flour on you. You can also carry. Actually, hold on. Let me.
So 3 ounces is quite a bit. Is somebody just going to walk around with 3 ounces on them at any time?
I don't believe so. But
I mean, I guess in your car,
you can drive with it in your car. You just can't have it
you can't walk around with it in your pocket.
readily. Well, I mean, you can.
Well, I guess it's 3. Yeah, your 3
Yep.
ounces
I
is
mean,
3 ounces.
You'd probably need a backpack or a fanny pack. But 3 ounces of
Oh, so it says on your card.
yeah, it
Okay.
has everything here on the back of it.
Watch out for law enforcement. Okay.
Right. 1 ounce of concentrated cannabis, which is more of like your dab material,
Okay.
which an ounce of that, I mean, that's a lot of money for that. You can have about 72 ounces of edible marijuana, and you can have up to
72 ounces.
of edible
Oh,
marijuana.
okay, so
So
yeah, so
edible. So,
So-
like brownies,
Not as
cookies,
concentrated.
gummy
So
bears.
that's not just necessarily the weed in it. That's
No.
That's also
It's
includes the
everything.
other material.
yeah.
Other ingredients.
And then you can actually have up to 8 ounces of cannabis in
Oh.
your home.
Okay.
So that's a lot. So you
Yeah.
can carry 3 with you at all times, but you can have 8 at your home or residence.
Okay.
There's also a bunch of other rules and
Are you-
stipulations and stuff.
Are you legally allowed to share with others?
You're not supposed to. No.
Okay.
You know,
if they're a card holder, are you allowed to?
no.
Okay.
It's your
That's yours. You keep it
medicine.
yourself.
It's your medicine. Now I'm not saying that
It doesn't happen.
it doesn't happen. My girlfriend has her card. I have mine. We basically share. We put our money together and we use together.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying it's legal, but I don't think anyone's gonna come busting down my door for it. You know?
Most likely not.
Well, after all the thousands of people that'll watch this, you never know.
Let's see. Yeah, about 10,000.
But
yeah, go ahead.
Actually, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, so you can't share, or you're not supposed to share. Like I said, I'm not saying it doesn't happen. We asked a question about driving on the last podcast.
Not recommended.
Not recommended, but legally illegal.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's considered a DUI. You know, I'm not saying people don't drive stoned. There's like a bunch of studies that are coming out about how
Bad it actually is, or
it's actually going in the opposite way. Pro.
How it's okay.
Yeah, you know, off the record, I could talk about that a little bit more. But
yeah, you're fine.
Yeah. It's more of a tolerance thing. They're doing a bunch of studies. In more of the legal states, they're allowed to, you know, do some studies and do a lot more research there. They're finding that, you know, it doesn't really impair
As
driving.
much as they think, or
That
at
is
all.
well, I mean, you know, if you do it and drive, it's going to impair you a lot.
Yeah.
But if I do it and drive, you know,
Because I mean, if I took a little bit, it might not be as bad.
it may not be as crazy, but I mean, it just depends on how it affects you too. You know,
Yeah.
if you have like I don't know your family history obviously, but if you have like mental illness in the family, you know, then I wouldn't recommend you do it.
Yeah.
You know, but
And you probably shouldn't operate heavy machinery.
No, not at all. I mean, that's one of the big things is there's a lot of people that are angry about that they can get fired for using medical marijuana off the job, you know, but I mean, I know people that work oil field that go get blackout drunk every weekend, you know, and then they come back the day after and they're working these really dangerous equipment.
And, well, I mean, I guess the lasting effects of...
It's not the lasting effects. It's probably the fact that you can't necessarily tell if someone's high or not. And they have no proof except for...
Well, a job is going to look for any reason. If you have a workplace accident,
Yes.
your work is going to look for any reason to not have to pay.
Not blame themselves.
And that's
Exactly.
And that's part of the issue, and that's one of the things that it being illegal federally kind of hurts. You know, when it becomes legal federally, those people that operate heavy machinery, they're going to be able to use, because the laws are going to change. Stuff is going to change, and they're going to be able to use. They're going to be able to hopefully choose it over alcohol if they feel like it's a better choice for them. And, you know, at the end of the day, the worst thing I've ever done, Evan, is just eat a whole pizza to myself.
No, I'm not worried about it.
Eat a whole bag
tell
of
you-
Doritos. Like,
I'll tell
I've
you
never...
the argument that I guess convinced me to like flip sides on it being legal was the fact that someone was like, so many people die from alcohol per year, and no one dies from marijuana. I mean, there's probably been deaths,
Unless you
but
get,
not
like,
not directly
a
attributed to
a
it.
crate of marijuana falls on you.
Yeah, and the fact that like if you worked say in an ER, you get drunk fights all the time. You don't get high fights. You don't get a bottles
get the
cracked
bomb
over the
passed
head.
It'd be very hard to get angry.
Yeah,
You know, it's hard to get angry. You're kind of happy. You're just happy, you know, or at least I am, you know.
just seems like alcohol is way more dangerous.
But my argument against that, not necessarily that alcohol isn't dangerous, but we always use the concept, well, this is passed. We should pass this because it's not as dangerous. I'm not saying we shouldn't be legal for recreation or medical use, but I don't think a good argument is, well, this is already passed. We should pass this.
That's definitely not a good argument. But
we'll use it.
If we're able to do a lot more research.
Actually, I don't know why it wouldn't be a good argument.
Well, I mean, you could argue that alcohol should be outlawed.
Yes, and it used to be. It should be. I mean, on the basis of,
It's not good for you.
whatever the basis that marijuana was originally outlawed, alcohol could probably be outlawed on that same merit. The conspiracies aside, what was their actual excuse for outlawing it in the first place?
So, when was prohibition? I don't remember.
In the, like 19 19 or something. I don't.
Okay,
think.
so it was probably banned about the same time.
Yeah.
Because I looked up before the podcast started. Marijuana was banned in the 30s, 1930s.
I don't know exactly when Prohibition was. That's my.
I don't even remember what was it? Not amendment, was it? What law was? It was probably about that same time. So they were just trying to ban stuff because overreaching government.
Big overreaching government. And, there's a lot of stuff targeting the African American communities back in that time. Because, back in that time, they were predominantly users, it kind of helped them with the jazz music. So,
the best music there is.
The best music there is.
I don't know. I kind of like anything that's on the top 40. I pretty much
right.
Like. If jazz is on the top 40, then I'll probably like it.
If it becomes legal federally, or when it becomes legal federally, we're going to be able to do a lot more testing on it.
Yeah, no, I think that is very important. That is probably the biggest thing that I'm for.
Biggest thing that it needs.
It needs randomized.
Whether you're pro or con, if we're able to do testing on it, then we can actually figure out the facts. Yeah. We can see the long-term benefits or cons. Whatever your stance on it,
I just like data. I like good data.
Exactly. And right now we're not able to get that because it's illegal. They're, again, comparing it to heroin.
Yeah.
And many other drugs.
Yes.
That are.
Yeah, but I kind of want to go back to why it's not a good argument versus why it is. So, okay, on the merits that it's recreationally legalized, I think it's a good argument. On the merits that it's medically legalized, it is not a good argument. So there's two different sides to this. And right now, I mean, I think the research needs to be further developed for the medical side. I mean, I agree with it being medically legalized because there are cases where it needs to, like, we've seen
there are people that benefit
a lot of anecdotes of the kids with seizures that are able to recover.
There's studies on cancer patients with I don't know if you guys are familiar with RSO oil or Rick Simpson.
I'm not familiar with anything medical.
It's like it's the purely concentrated version of. Okay, basically there was a guy named Rick Simpson who developed this oil that helps kill cancer cells.
Yeah.
And he's given it to thousands of people, and there's thousands of testimonies saying that it's helped them with cancer. Now, with what you were saying on
I could argue this.
Now, with what you were saying as far as the medical versus recreational thing, personally, I believe that people are only pushing the medical agenda of it because it's easier to get people to see those benefits. It's a lot easier to get people to, like you said, stand behind it.
Yeah.
Hey, we're seeing all these testimonies of cancer patients, of seizure patients, of
anxiety,
depression, people with arthritis, severe pain that they're using a bunch of pills for every day that, you could replace all that with, a joint. Or a vape, or an edible.
So I did read a little bit right before we came over about the actual medical trials that they have. So far, to my knowledge, you want a randomized control trial for any medication, and they haven't had much with marijuana, but what they have had is in the context of pain, and it has been seen to be very successful, which obviously, who wouldn't choose that over opioids?
Exactly. And that's part of the thing, that's part of the agenda that, pro users and pro activists are pushing, hey, why can't we have this as an option? Why do I have to put legal heroin and methamphetamines in my body when I can just choose a natural plant? Why would I do that? I mean, that's a big argument. I'm not saying anything's wrong with, the pharmaceutical industry. If you're a conspiracy theorist, then obviously you're gonna believe otherwise. But
I'll destroy you if anyone's a conspiracy theorist.
Comment
come debate me. I mean, there are definitely some there's huge problems in the
But there's problems in
there's
everything.
huge problems in the pharmaceutical industry. Don't get me wrong.
But, there's problems with everything.
Yeah.
It's going to be a matter of opinion and a matter of perspective. You're in the medical field, correct?
Yeah.
So
Well, kind of.
Kind of
Research,
but the
medical
research part of it. So I'm not in that, and Evan's a
Mechanical engineer.
exactly. So our opinions are all going to be different.
Yeah, and we all have different backgrounds. Growing up in different tiers of economic class, different areas, different college experiences, different experience for lunch today.
Exactly.
Might change your viewpoint on anything. So.
Everyone's different, and my thing is why not give people the opportunity to try?
Yeah, the option. So back to with optionality and the medical side. So where I see it's very important to legalize this and say medical marijuana could be a stepping stone for other more personalized drugs. I say that with like quotes, because the fact that for seizure patients, it seems that there's some subset of seizure patients who are like basically cured by medical marijuana, but there's also a subset that aren't. Yeah. There's some genetic difference or mechanistic difference in that disease, and if that was a randomized controlled trial, it probably wouldn't get through FDA approval just because because it doesn't help other people. That's the problem right now. And I hope that because of medical marijuana, other drugs that are becoming more personalized will be seen to be like, oh, okay, wait, this helps this subset of patients. Maybe we need to figure out what this is with this subset and figure out what the difference is between these two, and then just prescribe it for these people. So that's my big excitement on where this is going, because I hope it will help other industries.
One of the big things that I'm hoping for that can happen whenever it becomes legalized on the federal level, we're going to be able to I'm hoping that they're going to put millions of dollars into research.
Yeah.
And really breaking down what strains do what.
Yeah.
Now, when it comes to medical marijuana, there's terpenes in it. These terpenes are gonna be what gives you what specific effects whenever you smoke a specific strain. So, and there's also going to be medical benefits from these terpenes. Some people will call it terps. Those terpenes, what I'm hoping whenever it becomes legal on the federal level, is that we're going to be able to lock down those terpenes in either, and this is just my crazy theory with it, because I think science is awesome, and I think we have the power to do this because, we're able to pretty much do whatever. Yeah.
Because we're the United States.
But, yes. Number one. Yikes.
Anyway, sorry, go ahead.
If we're able to research the specific terpenes and break it down to like a molecular level, yeah, I'm hoping that we're able to, develop
more efficient
or a more synthetic version that is going to be more beneficial to everyone. Yes. Now, I don't know if that's possible, but if we're able to make like human hybrids, again to the conspiracy theorists, we're able to make human hybrids over in China, we should be able to do something along the lines of that, and then really
human hybrids.
Watch Joe Rogan.
Pig hybrids.
Anyways,
watch Joe Rogan.
I have seen that episode. Yeah.
But if we're able to put that research, that money into it, and maybe then we can really start seeing the medical benefits to it, and maybe the pharmaceutical industry will hop on board.
Oh yeah, I mean,
they'll hop on board as soon as it's legal.
You've already got some pharmaceutical company like GW Pharmaceuticals. Just hopped right on that train. I think they are developing their own. I don't know the vocab for it. I don't know if it's a strain or if it's a synthetic.
There's already a pill out there that they use marijuana in, and it's been legal and prescribed for probably years now. I remember my uncle, he actually died of cancer, but they prescribed him a little pill that had marijuana in it to use, so it would help him with his hunger. You know, so they're using it already. It's just, why are we not putting in more research to it to really see what benefits there are?
Well, I think once it becomes legal, money will be poured in like crazy, mainly because of taxes. I think tax in the.
I hope so.
I mean, even in Oklahoma, the tax is going towards a lot of, I believe, research.
I think a lot of research will come in because people are so passionate about this, and once it's legalized, that's gonna open up labs immediately. Because, as you said, it being illegal has severely limited the ability to get patients to do controlled trials on. Yeah. So once those handcuffs are off, there's such a large amount of.
And I think people are willing to go through the trials.
Yeah, and people are, 100%.
Yeah, 100%. Well, I mean,
well, free weed.
most users, they don't have any negative benefits besides, being lazy sometimes. If that's who they are as a person. Yeah. I know so many people that are doctors, nurses, lawyers, all types of different demographics that are using it. All different types of races that I know that are using it. So it's not, they're using it anyway. So why are we not putting money into it? Let's find out what the real benefits are.
We're getting kind of close to the end here. Yeah. But I don't know if you have any more questions. I got one question.
Ask them.
I have one question. It might take us down a rabbit hole, so we'll have to cut it off.
Well, I mean, I got one question. Mine should be pretty quick.
Okay, yeah.
Why are... I see all these organizations, specifically NCAA, NFL, with athletes that are using it. They mainly use for probably anxiety, and pain. Correct?
Pain, anti-inflammation. And workout stuff. Man, you get hit, you get sore.
Yeah. Obviously, that the marijuana benefits them a lot more than. Those other drugs, a lot safer than other drugs. When might not be really a question, but I mean, I guess when it federally becomes legal for medical use and even recreationally, I guess those programs, are they waiting for federal?
I'm honestly,
they're just waiting for federal to say it's okay.
I don't know what they're waiting on. I mean, ultimately, that would be the big thing. But in the states where it is legal, because there's a lot of football players that live in California.
Yeah, what's his face? Got caught. Why can't I remember his name?
Josh Gordon.
Yes, the one who always goes.
He got banned like 3 or 4 times.
Yeah,
from the
and
NFL.
He moved to California. I think was where he was playing, and
he was playing for Cleveland for a little bit, and then the Patriots.
I'm pretty sure all those. NFL teams have their own kind of policies on that. I don't know how strict they actually are.
I know the NFL is very strict, the actual head organization. I don't know about each individual team, but the NCAA is obviously very obviously with OU. They're very anti-marijuana, and
there's a lot of
they almost treat it like it's a performance-enhancing drug.
I mean,
they're all on performance-enhancing drugs.
I'm not gonna say it's not. Like I said, I do jiu-jitsu on it. I love doing jiu-jitsu on it. I feel like it's better. My jiu-jitsu is better whenever I'm rolling high or stoned or whatever.
Well, you feel like it when you're doing it because you might.
Well, I mean, I've watched my videos of me rolling high, and I'm more creative whenever on the ground with my moves. I'm more creative with my setups. It allows me to kind of open my mind to do that type of stuff, and then I'm not worried about the big heavy person laying on me because I don't care. I don't care that he's laying on me. I'm going to be able to work out of that position and go from there. But back to what you were saying, I think there's just a lot of people that don't have an open mind on it.
I feel like they just hate it. They have their viewpoint.
Camps, it's every
there's
single...
people that do hate it, and again, I don't know why. It's not affecting them.
Just how the world is all polarized. You can't be in the middle. You gotta go in one side every time. Right. It's ridiculous.
You can't just let people be happy.
Yeah.
Let them do what they want to do. But that's how I would answer that is, I just think there's a lot of misinformed people that don't have the correct information. And maybe they're not looking at it with an open mind.
Maybe they don't want to find it.
That too, and you know, it being illegal on a federal level, that kind of changes a lot of things. You know, if you have the government saying, "Hey, we're comparing it to heroin," like it's not.
Yeah.
What are we doing? You know.
Keaton, what was your question? You said it might be a rabbit hole, but
I actually have two questions. One's more of a joke. So the first one is CBD versus THC. Just a quick.
You need both.
synopsis.
Okay.
You need both.
And the more of the like anti-inflammatory side, the like health benefits side seems to be leaning more towards CBD, while the psychoactive and
So there was actually a study that I read through the wonderful book of Facebook for people that
okay,
don't
I
get
was
that.
super
Yeah,
confused.
sorry. Facebook. That I don't know how accurate it was, but apparently you need both. You need both the more CBD and the THC side to really get the full benefits. Now, if you're looking for more anti-inflammatory stuff, more stuff for like arthritis, aches and pains, I've been told that CBD is good for that, but at the end of the day, having both is a lot better. Having both the CBD and the THC. Now, I don't know if you're familiar, but there's like tons of different cannabinoids on. There's
It's
more
been a
chemical.
long
There's a
time
lot
since-
of there's a lot of chemicals that make up marijuana.
Yeah.
You know, there's a bunch of different cannabinoids, CBD, CBG, THC, CBN. Like, there's a bunch of different stuff that makes up the plant.
yeah.
You know, chemical wise, all of that together, kind of, you know, again, that goes back to what I was saying earlier. If we're able to extract those specific things and, you know, put them in a readily available container, capsule, cartridge, whatever, and allow people to use that, then it's going to be better for everyone overall, in my opinion. You know, we're going to be able to really see the true benefits of it that I believe that there are. Again, my opinion. A lot of people, you know, we could do research and find out that, hey, it's terrible for you. You shouldn't be doing it. You know, we could find that. I'm not saying I don't think we will, because I don't.
But I would rather find out than. I mean, if it's helping certain people, then.
Well, with all the
The
people.
only negative thing I could see coming about research is the a like longevity study. Say 30 years of someone smoking, maybe that has negative effects.
I mean, 30 years of smoking is probably not good on the lungs.
Yes.
With no matter what.
Yeah.
I mean, but
Even if you're just sitting around a fire for every day
Oh,
for
yeah.
30
I mean,
years.
consuming smoke's bad.
Well, let me change it. Edible. They say you had edibles every couple days for 30 years. Maybe something down the line. We'll see. I don't know.
So I'll go down that little rabbit hole real quick. Since edibles, and I'm gonna be quick about this because I know. So edibles are completely different. They go through a completely different process in the body. You metabolize it. You can metabolize the THC through your liver, and it becomes more of a psychoactive chemical, which a lot of people in high doses will compare to psychedelics. They'll compare edibles or high milligram edibles as you know, shrooms and acid, you know, and that is true. So don't do edibles if you're new. If you're gonna do an edible, do very low amounts, like 5-10 milligrams. If you're not used to that, you can mess your brain up. You can seriously mess your brain up. There's been people that, and you know, this is probably one of the negative things about weed or marijuana, is people don't know. People just, you know, make their edibles or give edibles to their friends. They don't know how much is in that. They don't know how that's going to affect them. So don't give edibles to your friends. It's bad, especially to your friends that don't smoke weed.
Yeah.
Because you can hurt them. You can mess their brain up forever, and there's no coming back from that. Because we don't have the technology to fix people's brains yet. So
Keaton's working on it.
hey,
But I do think you make a good point of Because you said edible, that could go, like you said, it goes through your liver.
Yeah, it's a completely different process.
It could hurt your liver in some aspect.
No, it's good for it's not bad for the liver. It just metabolizes through the liver, and it gives you a different high.
Yeah,
And,
well, I'm just saying, like, it could affect. We don't know how it affects you internally. Besides, smoking obviously is bad. Whether that's a house fire or you're smoking a cigarette, or putting things in your lungs that shouldn't be there is not good.
Right.
Not natural.
Not natural.
No, but if you do compare it to a pack a day smoker, it's a little bit different. Weed's probably going to be a lot better than.
Well, I mean, cigarettes have a lot of different things in them that will go into your lungs. A lot of chemicals.
But
and that could be an argument of why weed is better for you smoking than.
We just need the research.
Yeah.
We need the research. At the end of the day, that's what it comes down to.
What about psychedelics? No, I'm just kidding.
Big fan. Open your mind.
All right. What is this? The Matrix? We're in a simulation? Open your mind.
There's some people that believe we are. I'm not saying we are, but there's some people that believe we are.
Well, I'm talking about, is that what you're referring to? Is that quote from Matrix? Where he's like, open your mind.
No,
and then,
I just thought it sounded cool.
Oh, okay.
I like talking into mics, so open your mind. Like, I feel like the listeners are going to really like that. So
yeah, especially if they're high.
If they're high, hey, hit me up if you want to smoke.
Well, thank you so much, Dylan, for coming on.
Thank you guys for having me.
It's always a pleasure. Like I said, I don't know if I said on the before, but I know I said it before the podcast. I don't know if I said it on the beginning. I'm going to try and get a police officer on to finish out the series, kind of round it out. And if you think Dylan missed something, comment below or reach out to us and say, hey, Dylan, did you think about this? Or Evan Keaton, you guys are idiots. You don't smoke weed, and here's why you should. You don't know what you're talking about.
And guys, I'm not a professional. I'm not an expert. I'm just a user. That's all it is. I don't know everything. This is just my mind and what I've read and what I've seen. Everything's probably not super factual, but it's just from my perspective.
It's just a discussion.
Yeah, just a discussion from my perspective. And
that's the point. One of the points is having a good discussion.
Yes.
And bringing up things that some of us might not have thought about. But like I said, thanks for stopping by, Dylan. It's always a pleasure. Don't forget to like, subscribe, check us out on social media. Check out Dylan.
The Viking MMA on Twitter.
When's your next fight?
I'm hoping June, man.
June.
I'm hoping. I'm wanting to fight before my birthday again. Okay. I messed up my back, had some stuff happen at home that I've had to take some time off to fix, but now we're back. Everything's good. Back